Hello, welcome back. I'm Liv and you're watching Kalkine TV live from Sydney. This is the Sectoral Pulse show by Kalkine TV, a special show covering all sectoral movements from the markets for the day. Australian shares fell on Tuesday, with losses in technology and financial stocks outweighing gains in the mining sector as iron ore prices and gold prices firmed. The S&P ASX 200 index fell 0.27% to 7,026.5 points. The top percentage gainer on the benchmark was Bingo Industries Limited, up 6.7% after the waste management firm agreed to be bought by Macquarie Group for $1.79 billion Australian dollars. Bingo shares were also the most heavily traded shares by volume. Shares of Australian betting firm Tabcorp Holdings rose nearly 4% after UK's Entain proposed a $2.7 billion buyout of its wagering and media arm. The top percentage losers on the benchmark were Mesoblast Limited, followed by Adbri Limited. Among sectors, financial stocks fell 0.44%, led by Zipco Limited and AMP Limited. Technology stocks fell 0.12%, led by Appen Limited and Afterpay Limited. Mining stocks rose 0.43%, led by Piedmont Lithium Limited, while gold stocks rose 0.21%. The energy index also fell 0.23%, led by losses in Origin Energy and Beach Energy. To other markets now, Japan's Nikkei was down 0.04% at 29114.76. New Zealand, the benchmark S&P NZX 50 index fell 0.11 to 12,636.7. The top percentage losers were A2 Milk Company Limited and Fletcher Building Limited. Now let's take a look at some important currency market updates. The dollar hovered near multi-week lows versus major peers on Tuesday, weighed by subdued Treasury yields as investors consolidated positions ahead of the Federal Reserve's policy decision this week. The safe haven greenback was also out of favour after world stocks started the week hitting a record high amid increasing investor confidence in a rapid global recovery from the pandemic. To cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin traded at around $54,000 following a 10% surge on Monday, driven by reports that JPMorgan Chase is planning to offer a managed Bitcoin fund. The dollar index, which tracks the US currency against six peers, was little change at 90.859 early in the Asian session. That's after dipping to the lowest since March 3rd overnight. No change to policy is expected when the Federal Open Market Committee ends its two-day meeting on Wednesday, but the market will pay close attention to comments from Chairman Jerome Powell, who's likely to face questions over whether improving conditions warrant a withdrawal of monetary easing. The dollar has fallen nearly 3% since late March as US Treasury yields traded in narrow ranges after retreating from a 14-month high of 1.7760%, slashing the currency's yield appeal. The benchmark 10-year Treasury yield was around 1.58% on Tuesday, tracking sideways since sliding to a one-month low of 1.528% in the middle of this month. The euro slipped 0.1% but remained close to the one-month high of 1.2117, which it reached on Monday. The commodity-linked Australian dollar, a barometer of risk appetite, eased 0.1% after a 0.7% rally overnight that took it just shy of a five-week peak. The offshore Chinese yuan retreated 0.1% after rising to a seven-week top on Monday. The dollar added 0.1% to 108.18 yen, another haven currency, continuing its rise from the seven-week low of 107.48 reached on Friday. The Bank of Japan announces a policy decision Tuesday. No change expected there. Moving on to other news that matter. Now a news update coming in from the Thone River. Australian researchers have concluded the platypus is in trouble after the Black Summer bushfires. Famed for its bill, webbed feet and venomous spurs, the platypus is one of only two egg-laying mammals in the world. Many Australians haven't seen it in the wild. The semi-aquatic animal is increasingly under threat from extreme weather events, spurring efforts to track their numbers and to take steps to try and stem their decline. Platypus numbers have dropped as much as 30% and their habitat has shrunk by more than a fifth in the last 30 years. After an extended drought and horrific bushfires on the mid-north coast of New South Wales in 2019, researchers from the University of New South Wales found far fewer platypus in the burned waterways of the northern part of the state compared with the unburnt areas. The researchers capture the platypus with nets, tranquilise them and attach electronic tags. They take blood and urine samples, a biopsy for genetics and cheek pouch and fur samples to gauge the platypus's diet. One night in April, they caught an untagged platypus. So some good news there. Moving on to the news update from the world of cricket, batsman Chris Lynn has asked the Australian Cricket Board to arrange a charter plane to bring players home at the end of the Indian Premier League as India battles a surge in COVID-19 infections. 3 Australian cricketers have already cut short their IPL season to head home, but a number of the country's top players remain, including Steve Smith, David Warner and Pat Cummins. Cricket Australia has contacted Australia's IPL players on Monday. They're inquiring about their health and travel plans. Lynn said he had responded by requesting the governing body help to arrange a flight. India has recorded 352,991 new cases of COVID-19. That was just on Monday, so almost 353,000 in one day alone, placing further strain on an already overwhelmed health system. Meanwhile, Australia is set to consider a proposal on Tuesday to suspend all flights from India to prevent more virulent coronavirus variants from entering the country. The government said last week it would cut the number of its citizens able to return from India and other red zone countries. Queensland has urged the federal government to halt all flights from India due to the high risk of potential COVID-19 outbreaks from highly contagious virus variants in the country's hotel quarantine system. India has ordered its armed forces to help tackle the COVID-19 crisis as nations, including Britain, Germany and the US, pledge urgent medical aid to try to contain an emergency overwhelming the country's hospitals. Moving on to news coming in from Toyota, which has bought Lyft's autonomous driving unit for $550 million to build a robo-taxi network. The deal is a step by Toyota to move towards mobility services from pure car making. The Japanese group has been careful about deploying its own self-driving technology. Earlier this month, it launched a Lexus with level 2 self-driving capabilities that includes features such as changing lanes. Now let's take a look at the commodity market update. Crude oil dipped yesterday on dented fuel demands amid rising coronavirus cases in the world's third biggest oil importer and consumer, India. Brent crude oil futures for July delivery traded down 0.03% at $65.15 per barrel, whereas WTI crude oil futures for June delivery traded at 0.19% up at $62.03 US per barrel. India has registered around 5 million infection cases in April alone. The country reported a record spike in COVID-19 cases on the 5th consecutive day on Monday. Prices were additionally weighed down on talk that the OPEC cartel will increase production despite a fall in demand amid rising cases in India. In addition to that, Japan has imposed a third stage of emergency in Osaka, Tokyo and 2 other regions starting from Sunday as the country's population, nearly a quarter of it, is affected by coronavirus infections. Palladium surged to record highs on Monday amid ongoing supply concerns and robust demand. Palladium traded at $2,903.77 per ounce on 27th of April 2021 after registering an all-time high. And the metal is used in the automobile industry for converting to reduce emissions from automobiles. The stringent vehicle emission standards in China and Europe increased the demand for palladium and buoyed its prices to record levels. On the supply side, Russia's Norilsk Nickel, the world's largest producer, stated last month that its production could be at least 15% lower than previous estimates due to water problems in the mines, leading to mine closures. And that is it for now. Keep watching Kalkine TV. We'll bring you the latest news and trending market updates all live from Sydney. I'm Liv. Stay tuned.